7 methods which will keep you lean and healthy, and even if you're looking to build muscle, they will work for that throughout the holiday season. Now, these rules apply all year round, so you can implement these into your life and get results straight away. So obviously you got Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? So I think this is relevant because my clients are getting after it right now. Yeah, obviously it gets hard this time of year, but there's no excuse to fall back to old behaviors, right? That's where you're going wrong if you keep doing that. So number 1 is protein, fiber, and water to keep you satiated. Now, how do you implement this? Okay, let's start with water. First thing in the morning, give you an example of what I do. I go water here. When I get up in the morning, boom, 1 liter within 10 minutes of waking. I got 1 liter down the hatchet, and I have my electrolytes then with the next 1 liter that I have. So you don't have to spend lots of money on electrolytes. In fact, they're overpriced because what you really need is salt. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Add some lemon as well, but salt's the main one. Add that to 1 liter of water in the morning as soon as you get up, before you have caffeine, energy, keeping you full, getting your digestive system activated, dropping cortisol levels, right? You're waking up dehydrated. That's number 1. And throughout the whole holiday season and just in general, make sure you're having adequate salt. Now, you're having more salt anyway through these seasons because you're eating generally more foods that you wouldn't normally eat or whatever, or loads of sodium-rich foods a lot of the times. But this is where people go wrong, and then they mistake, number 1, mistake hunger for thirst, or number 2, mistake sugar cravings for lack of sodium, right? And salt the shit out of your meals, especially if you eat mainly whole foods. People get worried about adding salt. In fact, most people I take on, it's the opposite. They're having not enough salt. But when you do eat out, if you're eating out over these periods, remember you're going to have 6-7 times the amount of salt in those meals. You don't need as much then. So we got water, making sure you're staying hydrated, and ideally before your meals, right? So give it at least 15 minutes before and at least 15 minutes after when you're drinking water, because it interrupts the digestion process. So that's number 1. So protein and fiber tie in with this. Every single meal. Let me give you an example, right? I coach a lot of entrepreneurs and high-performing professionals, right, who have limited time. Very limited time, busy as hell, traveling with work, and I get them to focus on protein and fiber. Now, this is the way it is anyway if you want to be in shape, right? Protein and fiber, but especially if you're eating out, you're traveling, it's a holiday season, you're enjoying some, social events, then you need to be having this first with every meal. Let's just give you an example. My client went to a restaurant earlier, told her to send me some, and this is another thing as well. I don't want to go off too much on a tangent, but tracking food, I don't get, people who are really busy, getting an app out and tracking your food. I was just doing this earlier. I got, more time because, I work on my own terms, live on my own terms, but just taking pictures. I'll get some clients who are super busy, running businesses and stuff. Let's just start with a few pictures of your meals, and let's improve the way you're constructing a meal, making sure you have enough protein and fiber, for example. But protein's number 1. So she went out, she sent me a picture. She chose the steak and she had the broccoli, right? And she sent me a picture. Simple, right? So protein and fiber first. Now, even if you are deciding, you want to have some bread or you want to have some pasta, or let's say it's Christmas time or Thanksgiving, you want to have some cake that someone baked for you, fantastic. Still have the protein and fiber first. So vegetables, cooked vegetables ideally. Salad's okay, but it can be a problem for a lot of people with their gut. So cooked vegetables and protein. Now, like Ted Nyman said on the last episode, if you eat, for example, a load of lettuce, right, with meat, with your meal, then you're going to be way more satiated than if you just had meat. That's factual. You feel it. It's slow to digest. It really slows down the digestion process when you're having more fiber. But protein, if I had to choose one, is definitely more important because of the nourishment that you're getting, the essential nutrients you're getting from things like meat. So every single meal, number 1, protein, 30 to 50 grams before you eat your meal. Get the meat down you. Have the even Greek yogurt with whey protein, for example. Have the eggs. Have that first. And then, if you are eating out at a restaurant or at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, have vegetables if they're on offer. Even starchy vegetables like potatoes and stuff. Don't be afraid of starchy carbs either. Have that and the meat first, and then when it comes to the other stuff, you're not going to be as hungry. Yes, you can still stuff your face and slip up. I'm not saying this is a complete solution, but you're definitely going to eat way less. Night and day difference. So protein, fiber, and water are the key to keeping you satiated. So keep those three top of mind. If you're not hydrated, you're going to fall down, and you can't hydrate without having adequate sodium. So get that salt in and have a quarter of a teaspoon with water in the morning. Number two is be mindful of the cuts of meat. Now, people fall down here, especially people in the carnivore space. And I've coached a lot of people who've come through, and they're eating, beef mince, for example. Per gram of protein, it's a lot of calories. You still want to have those essential fats that you get in the fats on particularly grass-fed beef, of course. Loads of an abundance of helpful nutrients. But if you're eating those things all the time and you're not mindful of the fats on the meat that you're eating, you could gain a lot of weight just from doing that, and then eating some of the processed stuff on top, like people do going into Thanksgiving, Christmas, those type of things, and just in general, right, on weekends. I wanted to tie this in to make it relevant for what's coming so you can anticipate issues. This is what I do with clients, right? I anticipate challenges before they come, right? My clients are going to be enjoying themselves over this period, but they're going to be mindful of these things. They're still going to have some structure, and they're still going to live like a healthy person, because that's the only way you stay in shape. It shouldn't be something you do. If I'm talking to you now, and all of these things are still things that you do, right? There's still things you have to think about. You're not consistent with these things with nutrition. Maybe protein, could even be fiber, could be eating whole foods. You haven't made it who you are. It hasn't become your identity yet, right? So it just takes more work and more time. So go for the lean cuts of meat. Chicken breast, for example, turkey, whitefish like cod or haddock or tilapia like you guys have in America. Eggs are great. Obviously, have some of the yolks because it's just nature's multivitamin. But an egg white, if you take the yolks out, let's just say you were to have 6 eggs, right? Have like two whole eggs or 3 whole eggs, and then have the whites, because an egg white is just pure protein, right? And low in calories. So we want to go for high protein, low calories when we know we're going to have special occasions. We're going to have social events where we're eating out, where we might be drinking alcohol and eating more, or it could be Christmas over that period, or you could be going on vacation, wherever it is. Outside of those windows where you're going to be enjoying your food and stuff, you should be enjoying your food anyway, by the way, have the leaner cuts that I mentioned. And even whey protein, if you get good quality stuff, not processed garbage, whey protein, for example, and then good quality like low fat, for example. When you're getting Greek yogurt on these occasions, get low fat, right? Make sure you're not getting the really highly processed ones with a big list of ingredients. Just get basic low fat Greek yogurt. You could even mix some whey protein in there, or have the chicken breast or the turkey breast or the whitefish or the egg whites, right? Instead of just having the whole eggs all the time, maybe have some egg whites. These are all just examples of how you can have high protein but keep the calories down, right? So lean cuts. And when it comes to red meat, steak, for example, just have the leaner cuts. Have some of the eye fillet maybe. Have the extra lean beef mince. Like I have this half of the time. And I can get away with a lot of calories. My maintenance is like 3,800 just for me to maintain weight. But even I will have 50% of the leaner cuts, and then 50% of the time I'll just have the normal beef mince, 80-20. The lean one we get is really lean. It's like, I think it's like, it's like 10% fat actually. It's just normal. And 10%, is it 10% fat? Yeah. No. 10% fat or 10%? Yeah, 10% fat instead of 20%. So, number 3, this is a mantra I live by myself, and I don't really have to think consciously about this now. It's just kind of natural, to be honest. I don't really live by this anymore. But I get clients to live by this, right? And it's never miss twice. Now, I want to use the holiday seasons as an example because it's not just Christmas and Thanksgiving. It's when you go on vacations. It's when you have work events, when you have trips away. This happens all the time throughout the whole of the year. And it shouldn't be a January thing as well, right? This should be like who you are, these things. Never miss twice is when you don't miss 2 days in a row, right? For example, you have a day where the food goes out the window, right? You might have a day like that. The food goes out the window. Bounce back the next day. But when I say bounce back, don't go to extremes of restricting your calories, having one meal in the day, training like a mad person. that's going to run you down and make you eat more, because then you're creating a massive deficit. You're adding more stress to the body. It's already under stress once you've overindulged to a certain extent. So never miss twice. Get back to the normal habits the next day. But if we take nutrition, for example, I get all clients to focus on this, right? They've always got me in their head, never miss twice. I'm going to give you an example of me on the weekend, right? Now, I rarely drink alcohol, but I do enjoy a few beers here and there. And the last time I had 2 beers was on my birthday 3 months ago, July the 30th. And I was over in New Zealand on holiday. I had 2 beers, but you know what? I didn't really enjoy them then. I just had them for the sake of it because my birthday, so that was a little bit disappointing. But 80% of the time, I do enjoy having a couple of drinks when I do it. So this weekend, we went out. We had a first date night in a while, and it just happened to tie into us celebrating a year of being engaged, although I didn't plan it around that, but I took the credit. Anyway, I had 2 beers. I love Asahi, Japanese beer. I don't know if anyone's ever tried that before. They had it on tap at this place we went. So we had the tomahawk steak, right? 1.5 kilos, banging, by the way, amazing. Literally, we just had that for food, and we had some of the lettuce on the side. Oh, we had some mashed potato. Tell a lie, we had some mashed potato as well. And then I had a couple of beers whilst waiting for the food, and it was lovely. But then the next day, I'm not gonna, just hit the off button. Let's just drink again. Let's just, I'll just eat what I want. I won't bother tracking, because I've been tracking my food lately. No, I just went straight back to my usual habits, right, the next day. So when we say never miss twice with nutrition as well, over these periods, think of never have like 2 bad meals in a row. That's why I say you don't really want to miss for a whole day. You don't really want to, you don't really want to hit the off button for the whole day and have like 2 shitty meals in a row. A window over those periods, or when you're away, is cool, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna have this window. It's cool to an extent, right? You can still abuse that, but right, later on I'm gonna eat, whatever I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna eat more than I usually eat. So eat good in the day, like prepare your usual meals and stuff. I have like a Christmas survival guide that I give to clients, like a little mini training that I did for them. And it's like I had all these kind of rules in place where it's like, you can enjoy these events and not gain loads of weight, right? And in fact, you can build some muscle, which I'll get to. So never miss twice, 2 days in a row. And also don't hit the off button for a whole day. And another thing on this note as well is cheat meals and cheat days. There's never any benefit to calling it a cheat meal or cheat day. All that does is make you feel guilty because you're cheating. So I recommend just stop using those words. There's no point in using it. It's never beneficial. It's only a negative. I'm not having a cheat. I'm just going to eat a burger. I'm just going to eat some cake. I'm just going to have some alcohol. Don't say you're having a cheat, and hitting the off button for the whole day never is a good idea, right? Especially with food. So have some meals prepared. You could even, I don't recommend fasting to most people, but it could be a good idea to like implement fasting, right? Okay, I'm going to have a massive meal. I'm going to go out and socialize later on. I might even have a few drinks. It's going to be a lot of calories. All right, today I'm just going to have 1 or 2 meals. I'm going to have high protein, high fiber, maybe the lean cuts of meat, and eat normal in the daytime. Maybe do more steps or whatever, but nothing too extreme. Maybe lift so I can get that metabolism firing and partition those calories or whatever. So never miss twice. Same goes for like steps. You have a day where you don't move, right? You're sat on your ass grinding with work or whatever. Or you're just being lazy, right? Let's be honest. Like if it's the holiday season, you're just being lazy if you don't move. Let's just say how it is. But if you have one day, get back to it and get those steps up the next day. Don't sit around for 2 days in a row. Same goes for even training, right? Strength training. I missed the workout today. Get to the gym tomorrow. Never miss twice. Sleep. If you have one night where you're taking the piss, you're up late watching TV, the next night, don't miss. Get to bed early. Never miss twice. I wanted to give you the metabolic quiz, ladies and gents, the metabolic assessment, right? I've left a link in the show notes. If you're looking to lose fat, build muscle, or both, and you want to do it rapidly, and you also want to know where your body's at and why you've hit a plateau with fat loss potentially, what your metabolic score is out of 100, and the plan for your body and the results you want to get them as fast as possible, click the link in the show notes. It takes 2 to 3 minutes to do the quiz, and you'll get a plan on exactly what to do next, right? So go get that. Click the link in the show notes. Number 4 is just always focus on the 3 big rocks, right? So with clients, I say, look, you've got strength training, nutrition, and you've got movement. 2 of those boxes need to be ticked at all times. Let's say you have a day where your steps are low for whatever reason. Get some form of training, even if it's not the gym, right? Home workout it could be. and keep the nutrition tight. If one day you don't make it to the gym or you don't do any strength training, get those steps up, keep the food tight. Now, the biggest one is nutrition. Let's be honest, behaviors with food. That's what most people struggle with, right? You have a day where the nutrition's off, or you skip meals, or you ate like shit. Let's just say it, right? Let's say you had a terrible day. Movements to compensate. Get plenty of steps in. Get to the gym. 2 of those boxes need to be ticked at all times. That's what I say to clients. Thing is, people hit the off button, they're not consistent, and you'll just fall down time and time again. And if you keep doing that, if you're listening to this and going, do you know what, there's days where, training and nutrition's out the window, you haven't got to that point where you've upgraded your identity, where you're doing these things and it feels automatic, right? Where it's subconscious mind. For me, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but all these things are just who I am now. I just did a podcast with a client, and it's like, for him and us and me, it's like brushing my teeth. You're not going to get up and not brush your teeth. Just like I wouldn't get up and not go to the gym or go for my walk. It's just programmed into me now. It's my identity. It's who I am. So you have to work to get into that place. And this is why all the short-term bullshit, get shredded in 4 weeks, transform your body in 6 weeks. Like, even when I do the 6-week thing, that's so people can get their foot in the door and get things moving. I never say you're going to get a transformation in 6 weeks, because you ain't going to. You're going to get things moving. You're going to start changing some, improving your sleep, maybe improving your nutrition, maybe dropping a little bit of fat or building a bit of muscle. It's a slow burn. So remember that, right? So they're the 3 big rocks, and 2 of those rocks have to be, I don't want to say rocks, 2 of those boxes have to be ticked all the time, right? Out of the training, nutrition, and movement. Obviously, sleep that's number one. That's number one, the foundation. But family, right? So over those periods, right, when you're indulging more potentially, going on walks and stuff with your family and engaging with family, friends, people close to you. And instead of just like meeting up when you guys meet up, and it's nice to sit down and have a coffee here and there, of course, right? But why not just grab a coffee and walk? Rather than just go into a pub and sit in there, why don't you go for a walk? When you go to the beach, if you're lucky enough to live in Australia, or get out in nature and go for a nice little hike or walk together with a coffee. Movement, stack the movement. That's what healthy people do, right? Not to say they don't sit down at times, but they're always thinking, right, okay, I'm going to get okay, I'll stack that onto something I'm already doing. I'm going to meet my friend. We're going to go for a walk. You know what I mean? So think of it that way in terms of the movement piece. Number 5, lift regular. Do strength training regular, right? And make some gains. When you're eating more, if you're someone who wants to get jacked, right? I mean, I love being jacked. I'm not going to lie. Or if you're just someone who wants to build muscle and be healthy, over these periods, it's a great time to actually make some gains. And I love to eat. And my client and I, right, you probably have heard this podcast already by now when I'm recording this, but it's coming out after this maybe. But we were saying we both love to eat. And it had me realize, I'm glad he said it, because it had me realize that I love to eat so much that I actually train sometimes just so I can eat more. I love to train for my mental health, but when I train, I know I can eat more, right? So that's the beautiful thing about strength training. It just supercharges your metabolism, makes you more insulin sensitive. So, eat more and train more. If you're going to eat more, train more. Boom. Partition the calories, make some gains, and use it as an opportunity, right, for growth. Happy days for muscle growth. So lift often, and even if it's doing it at home, don't underestimate like the band sessions that I do with clients, for example, my signature band sessions, right, that I do at OYB with clients. They speed your metabolism up, they boost energy. They take like 15 minutes, 10 minutes in some cases, right? Depending on what they're doing in the gym. You can just do them at home. Body weight and bands, get a pump on. It speeds metabolism up, and it helps with like bloating. If you get water retention when you're eating more or bloating, it gets that into the muscles, right? And it boosts energy. Or even if it's like 20-minute workouts at home, whatever, do something, ideally most days. I always do something because, again, I know the benefits of metabolism, and I'm always thinking, right, I want to eat. You know what I mean? I want to enjoy my food. And I feel like I feel more rewarded when I do something. I don't like particularly doing band sessions, to be honest, like a lot of my clients don't. But I do it because I know I feel better afterwards. And it's basically going to help me with my gains in between strength training sessions, and I can get away with more calories, right? So lift often as possible, but don't go overboard, right? Moderate intensity often, make some gains. Perfect. Number 6, right? Keep the sleep cycle regular. This is one that people really overlook. I would say this is the most important thing when it comes to sleep and circadian rhythm. It's the regularity of your sleep. And because I've done this and dialed this in for so long, I'm not perfect, by the way. It's going to be all over the place when I go to Brazil for Christmas. But, well, sometimes it will anyway. I'll control it when I can, of course. But when you go to bed, even like 30 minutes outside of the usual time, let's say you normally go to bed at 10 p.m., you go to bed at like even 10:30, that even has an impact on your circadian rhythm, let alone if you're staying up for an hour or 2 hours later or more than that. You're going to get social jet lag. It's going to ruin your energy. It's going to compromise your immune system, and your body clock's going to be all over the place. And nothing's going to mess around with your hormones, your decision making with food, all those kind of things. They're messing up with that regularity of sleep. So go to bed at roughly the same time as often as possible. Now, these occasions, we have social events, we stay out later, we enjoy ourselves, right? But try not to take the piss. Even when you go out on these social events, like try not to take the piss too much. Like one night here and there, don't get me wrong, right? You can take this stuff too far. Like one night here and there is great. Like when they do Christmas in Brazil, right? They celebrate it on Christmas Eve. And what they do is like literally last time I went there 2 years ago, we had food at 2 a.m. This is no lie. Prep food, started eating, I think maybe 1:30 a.m. They do an overnight thing, right? So I finished eating at like 2:30 a.m. I think it was, a massive feast because the food's so banging out there, right? And then, we went to sleep at like 6 a.m. So like that's like one night or two nights here and there. You got to enjoy your life, right? There are experiences you take to the grave with you. So I want to say this as well. I feel like we can take all this optimizing stuff too far as well, big time, right? I've been there myself. I found more balance now, but you got to have a social life. That's true health, man. That's true health. And that takes me on to the next point. Number 7, last but not least, be present and eat mindfully. That's all that life's about, ladies and gents, right? All these things that I talk about, health and everything else. I don't want to go too deep with this, but from my experience, and I want to have kids as well, soon, right? We're hopefully going to have kids. I say soon, relatively soon. And I want to be present anyway, because that's what life's all about. But I can imagine when I have kids, because my mind's always thinking of a million different things, right? Especially running my own business. I'm going to want to be even more present. And that's all that matters. I don't know why I'm talking about kids here. That's not really relevant. But anyway, that's all that matters, right? Is being present. So, well, maybe I can relate this to you having kids. So, or even just family. Use these experiences that you have with the people close to you to really nourish relationships, to really, it sounds kind of woo-woo, but that's what it's all about, right? And when you're eating at the table, for example, eat your food slowly. Try practicing mindful eating. So even, put your hands on the table, put your knife and fork on the plate. I find this really hard, by the way. And just talk and communicate. Eat slowly, chew your food, be present, focus on good conversation. And that is the key, right? So I would really say that, and rather than just kind of like, because the thing is, we use the food as a drug, right? Let's be honest. We'll have all these foods available or whatever, or it might even be alcohol, and we're just looking forward to like escaping, right? Now, let's be honest, we're all human. Sometimes we want a bit of an escape. All right, cool. But be mindful of that and just go, okay, like what's this all about, right? I want to really be present with my family because we don't know when we're going to go. We don't know when we get these occasions together, right? So eat mindfully, eat slowly, be present, put your knife and fork down, put your hands on the table or hands on your lap, have conversation, and really focus on the mindful eating element and being present with people, right? That's why I say going for a walk, you know what I mean, together with family, like promoting that. So it's, you can stay healthy, you can feel good, you can stay lean, and still enjoy yourself. So look, ladies and gents, I'm going to be taking on just a handful more people this month. If you're thinking of getting into gear, don't be the new year, new me bullshitter. Let's get started now, because if you wait any longer, you're going to be in trouble. Let's be honest. If you're listening to this and you're like, man, I just need to get going, then I've got your back, right? So if you're looking to lose fat, build muscle, and really implement habits that you can stick to and get into the shape of your life physically and mentally, then apply to work with me. The link is in the show notes beneath, the one-to-one coaching form. And yeah, also check out this next video here on YouTube, because this is related to what we've been talking about, and it will go into more depth on certain topics. All right, over and out.